Hello. Right, we are back. It's been a while. It's been a couple of weeks since I've streamed, just been a bit busy. IRL stuff. But we have finished Demon Souls, so we're going to do another case in Great Ace Attorney. And then we'll move on to whatever next game is going to be. I'm not sure what it's going to be just yet. I might just roll straight into Elden Ring, I'm not sure. But yeah, let's get into this. We are on case number 4 in the first game. Let's have a look. The Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro. But before we jump into that, I want to take a quick look, because there was the little, what were they called? Escapades. So we did... These give you warnings, don't they? About where in the story they take place, don't they? So we did the first 3. So that was after the first case, after the second, well, kind of before the second, I guess. That was after the last one we just did. Let's have a check. Escapade takes place as they visit the at the outcome of Mr. Natsumi's trial. Okay. And then this one, fourth escapade unfolds one line. Does it actually say? It does. The first game's story, but it doesn't specify which. Okay. I'll have to double check that, because I think these two take place after the 5th trial? I did look it up last time, but I forget. Let's see. Accolades. What's the weird special thing I have to do in the next case? For having examined the violin before talking with Iris about the Wilson topic. Okay. For having read every new idea on Iris's blackboard. So I've got to keep checking her blackboard. For having dug around to find every argument about shovels and spades. And every debate about ladders and step ladders. You know what, let's just double check. Before I jump into this, let's see if those are even going to be relevant for this case. Great Ace. Because I don't want to be like looking out for stuff that's not even going to be in the case I'm doing. Great Ace Attorney. Accolades. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so I need to examine the board twice during this chapter. The Ace of Spades one starts next chapter, and top row? Starts in the second game, so okay, we don't need to bother with them. So we just need to keep an eye out for the blackboard. What about the violin one? Yeah, it's going to be episode 4, isn't it? Literally says right there. Okay. Okay. So, we left off last time. We finished the 3rd case in which we were defending Mr. McGilded, I think he was called, the Irish guy, who was accused of murdering somebody on an omnibus whilst it was in motion. The case kind of ended kind of flatly, like it seems like McGilded was messing or has been tampering with evidence, and the prosecution ran out of evidence to be able to try and prove his guilt. So it ended up with a not guilty verdict by just like necessity, I guess, for a lack of proof, which Naruhodo didn't feel great about. And then somebody set fire to the omnibus, destroying even more evidence for the crime. And there was a body inside the omnibus as it was on fire, but we don't know who the body was yet, I believe. So I think it was still on fire when we saw it. So let's see if this next case, if I, yeah, cool, it's going to start me here, is a continuation of the third one, or if it's going to be something completely different. And once again, I'm going to have to remember all of the voices. I'm just going to give people new voices. Fuck it.
I begin to think, Wilson, said Sholmes, turning his head languidly in my direction, that there is more to this case than that which we have observed. Indeed, that there may be another part to this story that we are yet to discover. His eyes wandered, following the steam rising from his cup of herbal tea, leading him to the distant memory of that snowy evening. To the young lady collapsed on the pavement along Briar Road, and to the knife in her back. Lit in the soft glow of gas lamps, a most extraordinary scene had been set. And under the cover of a light fog, the curtain had risen silently on the insoluble mystery of our invisible killer.
God, I know it'd be super expensive to do for the devs, but I really wish like the whole game was voice acted. Okay, 19th of February, 9:47 a.m. Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo? No, not at all. It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious, I felt like we were staying in a palace. And with all the gaslights twinkling, it was brighter than day even in the middle of the night. Where's my TV remote? Sorry, 1 second. What about the enormous beds? After my time on the SS Brugge, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. Yeah, because he slept in the wardrobe, didn't he? On the ship. I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. Oh yes, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except, when I learned that we owed £3 for the rooms, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Oops, sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance was so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking. In a lodging house in Japan, that sum of money would put a roof over your head for a whole year. Damn. Well, you really went and spent a night in the lap of luxury. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented with the bill. Oh, well, sorry, that was her saying that. I'm really sorry. Well, never mind. We must find some more affordable lodgings straight away, though. If we're not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less. London is a scary place. I'm assuming this is going to be the Chief of Justice guy. Good morning to you at this early hour. Oh, yes, well... Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We have come to report on the outcome of the trial of the Old Bailey yesterday. Susato-san is amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of an imposing Lord Strongheart. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation into the British courtroom practices. Oh, yes, it was very eye-opening, thank you. And, in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end. Yes, I've already been appraised of the events. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the test passed. Yay, we have the right to study in England now. Oh, no longer are you a student of the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. Why were there birds in here? My country is delighted to welcome a young talent from such a remote eastern land. Thank you very much. So, I'm a lawyer now. Now, in view of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. I'd like you to take it on at once. I trust that won't be a problem. Another case? Already? Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure I don't sense dissatisfaction. Do I? It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't quite come to terms with it. What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. What more were you hoping for? Well, some more info about the fucking evidence burning to the ground in the middle of the courtroom? That'd be a nice start. The culpability of the defendant has not, at the present time, been established by this court. Consequently, the jury will not be required to proffer judgment. Oh, he was Irish, wasn't he? Oh god, I had to do like a shitty Irish accent. I apologise to all Irish people. Well, Lord Van Zeeks. What accent was that? It's been a pleasure, so it has. And as for you, my dear fella, I couldn't have asked for a better defence. Evil laughing. I just can't help wondering if Mr. McGilded really was innocent. Mr. Naruhodo. It's just that I never managed to ascertain the truth. And then the trial ended. I will say, like, the trials in this case, aside from the second one, well, I guess just the first and third, because we've only done 3. But that's 2 out of 3 cases where we haven't had, like, a real clear, satisfactory, like, ending to it. Because the first case, the perpetrator got away. I think it was taken over by a different court, I think. And now this one, the third one, McGilded got away with something. Whether he actually did the murder or not, we don't know. We don't really have an answer, so that's 2 out of 3 cases where it's ended kind of like, Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? Magnus McGilded passed away immediately following the trial. Was that him in the carriage? What? No. What? Mr. McGilded is dead? Again, where did the birds come from? Wait, is the implication that his... So I just realised the room. Is he supposed to be inside the Tower of London? Like where Big Ben is? Because that's the clock face. Or is it just a clock face? It's not meant to be the clock face. I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk. Oh, going into it. Okay. McGilder's death. I don't understand. What happened? How could he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. And you'll presumably recall an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom. I wonder if we're going to have a case with Van Zieks as, like, the perpetrator to kind of cap off the game. I was kind of thinking, before I sat down to record this, whether, like, Van Zieks didn't seem... Like, he was obviously, like, antagonistic, but I don't know whether he was, like, entirely evil-ish in the same way that Von Karma was in the original Ace Attorney game. So I wonder if they're going to flip the script and have us defend Von Karma at some point, maybe. I'm not sure. Like, they're setting him up to be a villain, but it's going to turn out he's actually not. He's just a... I don't know. It feels like we're so far into, like, the series now that they're trying to, like, play with expectations and flip the scripts. But I'm not sure. We'll see. Ah, yes, of course. That was the scene of the crime which Mr. McGilder was had been accused of. Precisely. Well, while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames. No. How could such a thing have happened? That is being investigated as we speak, but already. The police have identified a corpse found inside the charred shell of the carriage as that of McGilder. That's awful. The man must have slipped inside whilst the bailiff's attention was elsewhere. The bailiff really needs to pay more attention. How could that have happened? That is also being investigated as we speak. Thinking back now, immediately after the trial, Mr. McGilder did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus. Well, I must be making tracks now. It's time for the inspection. Sorry? What inspection? They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. Asked if I could be present for it myself. An inspection of the omnibus. Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage. But then who was Mr. McGilder talking about? Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer of any concern of yours. Leave it to the police. Poor Mr. McGilder. We'll see about that. Depends on how guilty he was. British court. So, how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was... wow. Mr. Naruhodo means that the whole experience was steeped in the solemnity of Great Britain's long history. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Wow, Susato-san has such a way with words. And you seem to be wary... you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. Did she just read his mind? The judicial system here is the judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all you can. The most advanced in the world, is it? It was fortunate that your very first trial was a simple affair. Simple? That was simple? As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose. I don't mean to be contrary, Lord Strongheart, but the case was anything but simple. The circumstances of the case were so incriminating, I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it... Oh, wrong voice. I really got to pay attention to like who's actually speaking. I keep messing that up. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Is something funny? No, my apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive a not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. And that can only be attributed to exceptional talent. Wouldn't you agree? Well, I don't know about that. Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much at least is an undeniable truth. Which is precisely why I have prepared a new case for you that I mentioned before. What's going on? What was he going to say before? I'm wondering if he's corrupt. If he was in cahoots with McGilded. And he knew that no matter what happened in the courtroom, that McGilded was going to walk away free, because McGilded was kind of dirty. New case. Could you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned? Don't tell me it's a murder, and the trial starts in 10 minutes. It's always a murder. Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different. Oh, I see. Did he just read my mind? That is to say, no one has died, as yet. Attempted murder, then. And the trial will not be today. There is plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. 23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise. Huh? So the trial's tomorrow, then? Is everything all right? Oh, yes, I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was... well, it's left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I don't know if I could face standing in that courtroom again after Mr. McGilded's trial. Ah yes, I nearly forgot. There is one similarity with yesterday's case. Once again, there is currently no one to advocate for the defense. Oh? If the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. And if that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome. The most terrible end awaits the defendant. Yes, that's right. Here we go again. You didn't actually tell me any details about the case itself. Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. You literally told me nothing about the crime. There is now but 23 hours, 26 minutes, and 39 seconds until court sits. Last time you mentioned 23 hours, he said there was plenty of time. And one more thing, Mr. Naruhodo. There is something I should like to ask you. Oh, what's that? Yesterday, you remarked upon something. That you intended to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Asogi. I would be interested to hear what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds. Oh, well, Kazuma always used to say, you see, that he wanted to learn about the greatest justice system in the world. He wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world worked so he could change ours in Japan. Now that he's gone, I'd like to work towards that myself. And there's another thing. Oh. Another thing? Continue. On the way here, on the steamship, he said something to me. There's something important I have to do. Something very important. And what exactly would that be? He never had a chance to tell me. I suppose he would have done, if he'd ever made it to Great Britain. You're out of time. Well, thank you for that enlightening discussion. Mr. Naruhodo, what's all this about? Mr. Asogi never once mentioned any sort of thing to me. I urge you both to focus your attentions on the matter at hand. I've taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector in charge of the case. He'll be able to apprise you of the details. How long has he been there? So, I wish you the very best of luck and bid you farewell. There's something very important that I have to do. Kazuma-sama, what did you mean? I wish I knew, but honestly, he never told me. Anyway, we better talk to the detective, don't you think? Yes, you're right. I hope I'm just imagining it, but I wouldn't say he looks very pleased to see us at all. You got a thing of chips there. Yep. Is that supposed to be fishing? A piece of fish. Oh, okay. Could we trouble you? What do you think? Lovely weather, isn't it? What's the weather got to do with anything? Listen here, you young Japanese upstart. Some flippery about the weather doesn't get every English gent eating out of your hand, you know. But Sasato-san told me it was foolproof. I'm a busy man, a very busy man. There's a crime scene to investigate, but here I am having to give the likes of you a talking to. Oh, I'm ever so sorry. Can you imagine what the other officers there will be saying? Haven't seen Gregson anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the bigwigs these days. It's all because of some bumpkin who's out on a jaunt from a country I've never even heard of. How much fish is in that thing? Hear that ripping sound? That's my reputation at the yard going to tatters. There's no need to rip us apart as well. I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo of the Fence Life. Yeah? It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. Eh? It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it? It's unseasonably fine, I grant you. London winters don't seem to need a lot of sunshine. Unbelievable. How did she pull that off? So, Lord Strongheart asked me to fill you in on the case. The name's Tobias Gregson. Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard. Interesting that we're having, like, that there is a detective in London that we're dealing with, but it's not, they're not called Lestrade. And that the Lestrade we've run into was potentially, like, a criminal. Given the whole, like, Sherlock Holmes, not Sherlock Holmes character we've got going on. Also, the Watson died in the first case of the game, so I wonder what they're going to do with that. Gregson? Inspector Gregson? What's the matter with Sasato-san? Does this detective's main name mean something to her? Inspector Gregson. Inspector, are you perhaps the Inspector Gregson? You're acting like you know this man, Mr. Sato, but he's a London detective. Oh, I know him. Very well, in fact. Very well? Yes, he features prominently in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. True, this is doing Sherlock Holmes stuff rather than the official Sherlock Holmes stuff, so I wonder if... Because Sherlock Holmes is like the fake name that the author of Lupin III used. Or just Lupin, I guess. The Great Thief. So I wonder if in those books it's Gregson instead of Watson as... I'd have to look into that. I don't actually know. Oh, in that publication, what's it called again? The Ranced magazine? That's right. Inspector Gregson and Mr. Sholmes enjoy a wonderful friendly rivalry. Really? You rival the great Mr. Sholmes? That's incredible. Oh, well, I don't know about that. Mr. Sholmes isn't a professional like myself, of course, but he does come up with the goods from time to time. Mr. Sholmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. Gregson is the pick of the bad lot of all Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words. That's his highest praise? Well, Mr. Sholmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see. That he is not, and thanks to that magazine, my name's known all over London town now. That's great, isn't it? I have to admit, to start with, I was a little, well, flattered by all the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, and my reputation at the yard went through the roof. Well, that's wonderful. No, it's not. There's nothing more sinister than a man on the streets. People are always looking at me now. They're whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure. Rumors? Are you quite sure? He's changed since he started appearing in those stories. The fame's gone to his head. Stuff like that. Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you? Like I said, they whisper, so I can't catch exactly what they're saying, but I know what folk are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying. As sure as eggs is eggs. That's not a saying. I get the feeling this detective could be very hard work. Oh dear, perhaps a sudden rise in fame does change people. Oh, pardon me. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold. I'm hoping, like, all of my sniffling's not been caught on microphone, but if it has, I do apologise. Oh, dear me. The case. Right, let's actually find out what the hell this case is even about. So, about the case that the Lord Chief Justice mentioned before. Nothing to tell, really. As far as we're concerned at the yard, it couldn't be simpler. Oh dear, that probably means that as far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated. I wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right. A young woman was walking along the pavement on Briar Road when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she's still laid up in the hospital, unconscious. That's despicable. What sort of coward would attack a poor woman from behind? I suppose you would have finished whoever it was off with the Susato takedown, would you? That's neither here nor there, Mr. Naruhodo. Brace yourself, Rhinosuke. You've angered her now. Anyway, after something of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. He barely had time to make a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest. So there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit. Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question. Let me stop you right there. You're wasting your time on this one. Sorry? There's nothing you can do. There's no way to help the bloke now. Why ever not? Simple. The prosecutor has been assigned to the trial tomorrow is Lord Baron von Zeeks. No. Sounds like you've heard of him then. Oh yes, we're very familiar with Lord von Zeeks. Believed to be the harbinger of death himself. The Reaper of the Bailey. Lord Barak von Zeeks, who we faced in court only yesterday. Mr. McGilded told him about him before the trial, didn't he? When Van Ziek stands for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. And in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. This Reaper of the Bailey nickname. I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates against is found guilty. Is that it? Well, if that's the case, we should inform you, Inspector, that in yesterday's trial against Lord Van Zieks, Mr. Naruhodo secured a verdict of not guilty. Huh. And what of it? Oh, well, I think that means even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant. No, you really don't have a clue, do you? What do you mean? What happened to the bloke in the end, eh? He's dead. Ah. Magnus McGilded came a cropper in that omnibus when it went up in flames. So you can't rightly say that you saved the defendant, can you? What are you saying? Look, if Van Zieks gets the dirt to stick on everyone, if Van Zieks could get the dirt to stick on everyone, he'd be a miracle worker. But that's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles. He works magic, black magic. I'd have a good long think about that if I were you. Are we really supposed to believe that? Okay, so about the actual case itself, can we get some actual details about it, please? Right, well, I filled you in as requested, and I'm very nearly out of chips. I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. We're still carrying out a few investigations there. It was Briar Road, you said, didn't you? Where the incident took place? That's correct, ma'am. And if you head over to the holding cells, you can meet the criminal himself. You've branded him a criminal already? He's as good as. Shaking like a leaf in his cell, he is. Will give you a chuckle if nothing else. He's inmate 53. Speak with the jailer, and he'll show you the way. Inmate 53, thank you. So there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say. Is something troubling you, Mr. Naruhodo? To tell the truth, when I recall that trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage too. But if the man they've arrested is innocent, you could well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in his cell. And I, for one, wouldn't find the sight of that funny. So, if I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself. And I'm really not sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. But I'd like to try, so I think I'm going to make some inquiries. Will you help? Did you really think you had to ask? After all, I'm your judicial assistant. Thank you. So then, shall we? Yes. Let's go. Let's move. I like her as an assistant. She's good. Let's go talk to him first before we go to the crime scene. Let's see who we're defending and get his version of events, and then see how that lines up with the evidence afterwards. Local prison, cell 9. So these are the British prison cells. Oh, they're ghastly. It feels just like a dungeon. Yes, having experienced it in Japan myself. I can assure you that our wooden cells feel a lot cozier than these cold stone walls. Oh, don't, Mr. Naruhodo. You're making it seem worse. Oh, tears welling up in her eyes. Apparently, our client is in this cell here. But it's so dark back there, I can't make him out. I wonder what he's like. Inmate 53, your legal representative is here to see you. Stop by in the back of the cell and show your face at once. Am I a cat? As yet with no name? Calling me by a number? It's utterly unbelievable and justly unreasonable. I refuse to answer. Mr. Naruhodo, what? What do you think is going on here? I have no idea, but I wasn't just hearing things, was I? That tirade of complaints? It was Japanese. Oh my god, is this going to be, yes or no, sir? Oh, no. Have we seen you before? Excuse me, but who? Shh, quiet! They're all around, hiding. I know they are. They're watching, listening. Even now, I can sense it. Right, so, could I ask you who exactly— There you are! You've come to curse me, haven't you? Don't try to hide it, you're a ghost. A ghost? We mean you no harm, prisoner-san. Are you Japanese by any chance? This is beyond my wildest dreams. Forgive me for that outburst before. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's fine. We were just a little surprised, that's all. Imagine it! It's been 12 months since I left my hometown, and here I am, in a frightful fix in a foreign land. So hearing the sweet, sentimental tones of compatriot's voice here in this damp, dark hellhole was a most monumentally moving moment. Who could have guessed this new client Lord Strong had assigned to us would turn out to be a fellow Japanese? What compassion my fellow countrymen show. To dispatch a first-class lawyer all the way from Japan to defend a mere foreign student. Noble, nurturing, never-failing Nippon. A first-class lawyer? Oh dear, I think there's been something of a misunderstanding here. I wonder, would you be so kind to tell us what's happened? Why you've been detained as a suspect, for example? Yes, I can. I will. Shan't stay sullen and silent. Not quite sure I understand what he means, but he seems happy. Yes, he does. I just hope he actually has a good reason to be. Thank you for your cooperation. I'm a lawyer, as you said. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. And I am Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Sasato Mikotaba. I am a visiting student sent here by our government. Nobly nurturing, named Natsume. Sosuke Natsume. Okay. About you. Sosuke Natsume-san. What an unusual name. Call me Sosuke, please. No, can we go with Natsume, because I'm struggling with the first name. I'm a poet, you see, a writer of haiku. It's something of a nom de plume. Nom de plume? You mean an alias? That's right, Naruhodo-san. No, don't be so prosaic. It's much more refined than that. And haiku, that reminds me of home. Did I hear you say that you were a visiting student, sent over here by the government? Yes, that's right. A year ago I was told to go study English. First I had to suffer that misery, and now this. It's beyond the pale. Suffer that misery? Do you not want to study here? No, I mean, I've had an interest in Great Britain for some years, of course. Oh, but just because the government tells you to do something doesn't mean you can do it. No. What do you mean? They told me to study English literature. That I could have understood. That's my field. But no, they told me to study the English language. Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. I see. Only the other day I was told to send a report about my first year here. I tendered a blank piece of paper. Wise words on white washi. You must be a man of great standing. Oh yes, I'm often told. And often like to be told, it seems. Okay, the accusation against you. Could you perhaps tell us exactly why you've been arrested, Soseki-san? I didn't do it. I didn't commit that atrocious murder. Murder? Oh, no, it's all right. The woman didn't actually die, did she? But she was stabbed with a knife, and right before my eyes. Before your eyes? You mean you saw the attacker? I didn't see anyone. What? If I'd seen that person who did it, do you think I'd be locked up in here? Oh dear, it seems that this case is becoming rather complicated. Why me? Why me? Why did that silly woman have to be stabbed right in front of me? It's the curse of London. It's incredibly, inexcusably, irritatingly inconvenient. So Soseki was there at the scene, but he didn't see the attacker. It's vital that we find out more about the case. Okay, about the case. And it was an accursed evening, just after the snow had started to clear and heavy with fog. I'd been to the bookshop to buy some books. Now I was on my way back with my accursed to my accursed lodgings. So the bookshop wasn't accursed too. As I was walking along the accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of the stone at my feet. How terrible. I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like ghostly, ghoulish, grim graveyard. Slight exaggeration there, perhaps. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran, as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. That's not good. They'll say it was shameful, I know, to run away like that. Tell me, Soseki-san, was the victim an acquaintance of yours? Don't be ridiculous. Do you think I know any of these fair-haired English? And a young woman at that. I'm different, shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people. I see. A young woman, unknown to Soseki-san. And at the time it happened, who else did you see nearby? Did anybody pass you? Regrettably, apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul. No one? Oh, great. So the victim was unknown to you, and there was nobody else on the street at the time. That creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it? What conundrum? Conundrum. What do you mean, Sasado-san? What's the conundrum? Well, If what Sozuki-san just said is true, then there's something I can't explain. He says he didn't know the victim, and that there was no one else at the scene. Then he apparently fled without having been seen. I did. But if that's the case, surely this man has to be the culprit. Did you just say? Nothing. I didn't say anything. Oops. Perhaps I thought a little loudly. Actually, that's not what's troubling me. What I was thinking was, how did Sozuki actually come to be arrested? Sorry? Yeah, if nobody else was around to see him and he fled straight away, then how did anybody know he was there? He didn't touch the victim, and there was nobody at the scene to see him. So how did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place? Oh, yes, she's right. It was him. That accursed great detective. He led the police to me. Of all the bad luck. Accursed great detective? Could it be? I shall never forget that man's name as long as I live. With his haunting laugh and his self-proclaimed greatness. Brash, big-headed, busybody, begone. May you be cursed until the end of your days, Herlock Sholmes. I knew it. Mr. Sholmes? Herlock Sholmes. Well, I didn't expect to hear that name from this man's lips, that's for sure. It was the morning after the nightmare had unfolded on the pavement before me. I was gnawing on a sliver of hard cheese when some man suddenly burst through the door. They started shouting at me. It was the police. Put the weapon down. It was a thin sliver, and yes, it was hard. But I wasn't eating a weapon. Disgusting dietary discrimination. Devils. You clearly had a trying morning yesterday. And there he was, in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a Cheshire cat. That Herlock Sholmes. It's actually Herlock Sholmes. He's English. I've since found out that he's a famous... I've since found out that he's a famous name in detection here in London. Yes, a great detective is... the great detective is really well known. And his overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts, apparently. He thinks I'm the knife-wielding madman. Me, this weak-stooped kitten of a man. I wonder what great deduction process led him to his conclusion this time. Do you mean to say that Mr. Sholmes' deduction was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unreasonable. Well, the thing is, I was thrown into a panic when they barged their way in. Of course you were, it's only natural. I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing question after question at me, in impossible English. Fiendish foreign flimflammery. Flimflammery. Well, we are in England. You can't really blame them for questioning you in English. Good point, but my mind went blank. I knew I had to answer, but I didn't know what to say. So I just kept repeating things like, yes, I do, and I'm fine. The next thing I knew, I was in manacles. Before I knew it, I was thrown in here. Oh dear, I'm afraid. That's hardly surprising. I'm fine? He's not fine now. Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. Oh, you can just call me Miss Naruhodo. And when we're speaking English, a simple Mr. is more than enough. Oh, yes, alright, yes. They've really got to me. This country is poisoning my mind. But please, I beg you defend me in court tomorrow. You can tell them what really happened. You'll do it, won't you? Well, why? Why? Why is it so hard to say yes to me? Well, the thing is, I'm just a student like yourself, on a study tour. A student? I have defended a case in the Old Bailey. Only one, though. But at this moment in time, I really don't know what I'm supposed to believe in. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means. Oh, Naruhodo-san. I'm not even the foreign student who's supposed to be here. I'm sort of locum lawyer, I suppose. But that armband, that's the mark of a defense lawyer in that great empire. It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He was my best friend. A keepsake? I know exactly what they're saying about me. Oh, who do you mean? The lawyers. All the British defense lawyers. They won't defend me. Goodness. Why do you say that? For the same reason you noted before. When it happened, there was only the victim and myself around, and I ran away from the scene of the crime. I'm not a fool. I know it looks as though I must be the culprit. It must be very hard for you, Saseki-san. And anyway, I'm a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them. Somebody not to be trusted. I hear them openly laughing at me, about me before. I heard them oh my god, my brain. I heard them openly laughing about me before, in my earshot, without any compunction at all. Any trial for this man would be a waste of time, they said, and of course the foreigner did it. They even had the gall to say, the man doesn't understand half of what's being said anyway. That's awful. They're wrong. I've studied more English than half of the policemen out there on the streets. I've travelled halfway around the world to learn about these people's country and its great history. But no one here wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They all hate me. So, at the very least, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen to me in my native tongue. You could do it, couldn't you? When I look into your eyes, I can see it. I can see what you've been through. Saseki-san, it's just that... Give me a little time, please. I'll do what I can, for the time being. What do you mean? We shall investigate the case as thoroughly as possible. If we can find some clues, it will give us much better a chance, I'm sure. Oh yes, thank you. I'll be there, all alone, waiting for you. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. We should be going then, Naruhodo-san. We have a case to prepare for. Did we go through everything with you? We did, okay. Briar Road. Before we go to Briar Road, I need to take a quick bathroom break, and I want to grab a snack as well, because I'm absolutely starving. So, I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Won't be too long. Okay, we're back. Alright, let's crack on. Briar Road, crime scene. Let's go take a look. Wow, that bike's tire is fucked. So this is where it happened. Briar Road. Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo. Look at that regulation metal helmet. It's unmistakable. The men of Scotland Yard are here. They're investigating as we speak. That is their job, you know. But, Mr. Naruhodo, To see one with my own eyes. They're often depicted in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, but I never dreamt I'd see one this close. To a real Bobby's helmet. What? The helmet? Of course. I have to try one on one day. Well, I hope your Hattie dreams come true. What's the Japanese delegation doing here? Oh, Inspector Gregson. This isn't on the tourist trail, as I'm fairly sure you'll well be aware. Yes, of course. We're here to investigate. So you've been to the holding cells then? What'd you make of the criminal? He's not a criminal, as you put it, Inspector. He's a suspect. We'll see about that. You Japanese like to stick together, I suppose. Well, do what you will. It doesn't bother me. Bloke's in court tomorrow, whatever happens, and the verdict's a foregone conclusion. The stone-cold air of rejection. Take heart. London at this time of year is full of stone-cold air. That makes it worse somehow. Okay. What have we got? Alright, we'll start with this side. What the fuck is up with this bike? Oh, a British bicycle, look! Although the wheel is so misshapen, I'm sure it couldn't possibly be ridden anymore. Someone must have been doing some breakneck cycling. It seems bicycles have become extremely popular in London recently. There's even a movement to change women's dresses to allow them to ride as well. The bicycle fad won't last. I don't see why anyone would want to ride something like that. Goodness, do you dislike bicycles? No, not at all. I mean, it's not like I dislike them exactly. It's just that any occupation that involves taking both your feet off the ground, any occupation that involves taking both of your feet firm off the ground seems reckless. If you'd ever tried walking on stilts off and fallen into a river, I know you'd agree with me. We'll have to hire a bicycle sometime. You can sit behind me while I ride you around. Anything else on this side? Oh, the windows are all bricked up. Oh, look at the windows of that building there. Are you sure they're windows? Yes, but they're all filled in with bricks. Oh, you're right. I wonder why. Perhaps it's an empty property where nobody lives at the moment. There's smoke coming from the chimneys, though. Oh dear, everything feels very foreign. There's so much I have to learn about this place. Is that because of the window tax? That was a thing. For a while, I'm not sure what years those were. That was in place. Snowman. What a delightful snowman. I didn't realize the English had a tradition of making snowmen as well. Looks a little creepy though. So it has a scarf. Look. You'd need one if you were out in this freezing cold all the time. I wish I had one. I'm afraid our budget is somewhat frozen at the moment too. We certainly can't afford a scarf. Surely the snowman here wouldn't miss his. But the person who made this snowman certainly would. Yes, I know, you're right. Anyway. Even if I borrowed it, it wouldn't do much to warm my neck, would it? It's covered in snow. Did she just read your mind again? Alright. Oh my god, my nose. Sorry. It's getting very stuffy. That's one of the officers from Scotland Yard. The police are making sure the crime scene is undisturbed. I have a feeling that if we wander too close, we'll be clapped in irons. I think perhaps you're being a little overcautious. We've done nothing wrong, so we have no cause for concern. No, I'm not getting caught out again. Twice is enough. Twice I found myself in handcuffs despite not knowing anything about what was going on. Yes, you've had some dreadful experiences. I'm sure it's that wide-eyed look of panic you're so prone to. It does you no favors at all. Ah. Oh, that's just going to be a repeat of the crime scene itself. Can we take a look at it? This patch of pavement must be where the incident occurred. Yes, it's very wide open space, isn't it? That's true. I can't see anywhere an attacker could have been hiding. They did say it was foggy, though. Oi, what are you foreigners doing here? We just investigating the scene, officer. Conspiring with that mustached fellow from Japan, are you? Conspiring? Come here to destroy evidence, have you? Get out of here before I give you an hiding. Go on. He shoot us away like rats. Yes, we should give him a wide berth, I think. What a disappointing experience. Oh, that's a Scotland Yard carriage. They use vehicles like this to rush to crime scenes and cart away criminals. You're very well informed, aren't you? It's long been a dream of mine to ride in one of those through the streets of London. Well, just pick up a stone and throw it through one of the windows then. But that would mean being arrested in order to ride it. Wouldn't it? Still, if it's the only way, help me find a good stone. No, I wasn't being serious. There are piles of snow on the pavement here and there, but the road itself is covered in carriage tracks. It seems carriages often travel down Briar Road. It soon disperses all of the snow. I slipped over when I was walking down the pavement earlier. It seems like it would be far safer to walk on the road instead. Oh, but you're rather small, Mr. Naruhodo, and dressed in all black. I worry a coachman might not see you and could be flattened by horses. Well, thank you for the rather small concern. That's a rather typical old brick building, isn't it? I'm sure it had a long and interesting history. Well, time certainly seems to have taken its toll on the place. It's crooked and sagging over. In fact, it looks decidedly worse shaped than the other houses around here. We must find some cheap lodgings ourselves as soon as possible. Yeah, you're right. Cheap, but ideally with a reasonable level of floors. Ideally with reasonably level floors. What haven't I clicked on? Is that the Old Bailey? No, the clouds look so big and heavy in the sky, don't they? With the dense fog as well, everything looks hazy. Well, it's known as Foggy London Town. I can make out some sort of spire through the fog. It looks like it's being built, though. Ah, yes, that must be the Crystal Tower, being built in the for the great exhibition that's about to open in 6 months' time. Apparently it's going to be very striking, glazed on all sides, and the symbolic centerpiece of the exhibition. To be the largest exposition in history, is it? I can't even begin to imagine it. What have we not checked? Alright, I think that was everything, so let's chat with your boy, with Gregson. Tell me about Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I read about it in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I've been fascinated by the place. Fuck, I've literally forgotten the voice I've given this guy. The Yard is the most sophisticated policing organization you'll find anywhere in the world, ma'am. Oh, and you know I've always dreamt of wearing a real Bobby's helmet. It does make them look the part, seeing that policeman there with his helmet on. You certainly get the sense that this is the man who will take no nonsense in his duty to protect the city. Oh yes, doesn't he look wonderful? Being a London bobby is hard going, I can tell you. Oh really? First thing in the morning, you know what he does? Goes around and rouses all of the labourers on his beat so they can get off to work. What? He wakes people up? Yep. Raps on their windows with a long pole. I did it myself, going back a bit. I had no idea. The bobby works for the people of the town. It's just another one of his duties. After all, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. He has to cover 20 miles a day. That's the regulation distance. Can't really imagine how far that is, but it sounds like a long way. Let me see. 20 miles, that's approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama. On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far. And when it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all of the gas street lamps. No, they didn't. There was like people whose jobs that was. It wasn't necessarily the police. Oh my. I suppose in between all of those duties, bobbies are expected to investigate cases as well. And chase after criminals trying to evade the law. I'm not sure I could call it in between exactly. More alongside, but yes. They're expected to handle those jobs as well. We do have men keeling over from time to time, I admit. I'd always dreamt of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But it's with a heavy heart I must have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Your heavy heart will be in my heavy head if you do. About the case. It happened at around 5 in the evening, 2 days ago. Just there on that open bit of pavement. The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with a blade from behind. Is it right that the lady is still unconscious now? You mentioned that she's being treated in hospital. I never said she was a lady. Truth is, unless she comes around pretty smartish, we won't be able to find out much about her at all. I suppose that means they haven't been able to take a statement from her, of course. Here's a map of the local area I happen to have on me. You can take it if you want. Really? Are you sure? It's Yard policy to give lawyers defending suspects the odd bit of information to go on. I haven't actually accepted the job yet, but still. Thank you, Inspector. We gratefully accept. A local map has been entered into the court record. Anyway, as far as we know, there was no one else on the scene other than the victim and your fellow countrymen. So who did it, do you think? Not much of a head-scratcher, is it? Well, I know Mr. Natsume is also claiming not to have seen anyone else around, but just because he didn't see anyone, it doesn't mean we can be sure that nobody else was present. I'm sorry to have to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure. How? Because, ma'am, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed. What? I have 2 very reliable witnesses, no less. Ah! It was a typically foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see them. There were witnesses now? Yeah, I just want to take a quick look at that map. Okay. Lots of gaps between buildings, and stabbing took place right near one. The witnesses. Who are these witnesses, Inspector? A fellow and his wife, and the man's one of the most reliable and respected citizens in all of London. He's a copper from Scotland Yard. Ah. A policeman? That might change things. And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment the woman was attacked? Nothing peculiar about it, Bob. Part and parcel of being catching the bang in the middle of the act and all. Do you think it might be possible for us to ask the policeman a few questions? Be my guest. You can ask him what you like. In court tomorrow. Oh, I have no doubt he'll be summoned as a witness. So that'll give you something to look forward to. That's that then. Got no intention of letting us meet the man beforehand, it seems. A policeman witnessed the incident. As your judicial assistant, I must warn you that this could make our job very difficult indeed. Yes, a non-judicial assistant. As a non-judicial assistant, I could have warned me of that too. Oh yes, one more thing, Inspector. What? The person who led you to this suspect. I hear that was Mr. Herlock Sholmes. What are you bringing him up for? Was it something I said? The colour is drained from his cheeks. Let's talk about the trial first. That twitchy Japanese bloke goes on trial tomorrow. Are you going to defend him or not? Well, makes no difference to me, but I'll just say this. No London lawyer worth his salt would touch the case with a barge pole. Because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey, you mean? There's no way to save the man now. It'd be a waste of time trying. It's all a bit strange, though. Sorry? The Reaper. He hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now. Yes, we did hear something to that effect. And the only people he usually bothers with are the real scum. The master criminals. The violent ones. Master criminals? The violent ones? That's right. He handpicks his victims, only deals with those guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins. But Mr. Natsume wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely. That's just my point, Sunshine. Yes, the young woman was stabbed, but it didn't kill her. Couldn't even say the intent was there. So this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper to want to sink his teeth into, for want of a better phrase. It's not exactly a minor infraction, is it? No. There's got to be more to it. Some reason he's taking an interest. Really? What sort of reason, Inspector? You think I can tell you what's going on inside the head of that Lord of Darkness? You'll have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial. Are we really going to have to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as he puts it. Alright, Sholmes. Back to depressed. Who did you hear that name from? Oh, well, it was from Mr. Natsume who mentioned it. He said that Mr. Sholmes was with the police when they entered his lodgings. I'm sure it's the result of one of Mr. Sholmes' inspirational great deductions. Fiddle-faddle. Ah. The man's an amateur, and I'm getting sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere. Oh. I don't know where he gets his information from, but he turns up at the scene of a crime, wanders around spouting incomprehensible rubbish, and before you know it, he claims to have solved the case. Yes, he's quite astounding, isn't he? He is a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he? Gibble gabble. Ah. Ever seen this before? Oh, yes, that's Ranced Magazine. A wonderful publication in which the adventures of Herlock Sholmes appears. Yes, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees fit to include several of the Yard's detectives in its stories. And the so-called great detective makes a mockery of all of us. You ask anyone at the Yard, it's a misadventure to be included in any Herlock Sholmes tale at all. Well, I suppose there is an element of that. We work our socks off, every one of us, only to be frumped by the public thanks to that obnoxious detective. The man's as dangerous to us at Scotland Yard as he is to our criminals. That can't really be true, can it, Inspector? Clearly the great detective and the police have a complex relationship. Well, I don't think we're going to get any more useful information out of the detective. Mr. Naruhodo, can I make a suggestion? Oh, yes, what is it? Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this. By him, do you mean Mr. Sholmes? Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, exactly. Look at those shining eyes. You can't wait, can you? Well, Mr. Natsume did blame Mr. Sholmes for all of this, didn't he? Yes, he did. He really did. Which makes him an involved party in the case. Are you just going to ignore that? I hope not. I assure you, it's not simply my selfish desire to meet Mr. Sholmes again. The trouble is, we have no idea of the man's address even. It's Baker Street. How did you know that? It's in the stories, of course. 221 Baker Street, the most famous address in the world. Oh, I see. Well, there's nothing to stop us from going, I suppose. We better try to find our way there before Sato-san gets any more excited and unpredictable. Hurrah! I'll summon a carriage. So we have a reunion already with the great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Whoop! We'll see you later, detective. Holmes is sweet. Ooh, animated cutscene. With no snow on the road. Seems like we've changed season.
Thank you very much. It's just up there overlooking the street. Good day. Thanks again. This is it. The residence of Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
Sholmes is sweet. So this is where the great detective makes his living. It feels surreal to be here somehow. The hell is that? It's like a magnifying machine. Is it as described in the stories, Mr. Sato? Sato-san? Oh, she's gonna nerd the fuck out. Many, many famous cases have been solved here in this very room. Oh, I suppose they must have been, yes. I've never read the stories, so it's hard to get quite as excited about it as she seems to be. The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears into the fog down an unlit London street. Oh, the thrill of it, the romanticism. Can't you feel your heart thumping in your chest? Can't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, I suppose I can, yes. So if you don't mind, I'll just stand here and soak up the atmosphere for a while longer. Please don't mind me. She's obsessed. Well, it looks like our detective friend isn't home at the present. Excuse me, is anyone home? Is this Mrs... Shit, I forgot her name. The old lady. Oh, do we have a visitor? Oh! Hello. Is it a big new case for Mr. Sholmes? Hello? Blackboard in the background. Wait. Aren't you... Oh, how rude of me. I'll go and make some tea at once. I'm sure it's the same girl. Mr. Sato, did you see the girl who was just here? Oh yes. Isn't it truly extraordinary? To think that the King of Bohemia came to this very room to ask Mr. Sholmes to take on his case. The King of where, Mia? King Wilhelm... Oh god. King Wilhelm Gottesreich Sigismund von Ormstreit, of course. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Forget the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes for a moment and look over there. Tea's brewed! I have a freshly baked cake as well. Ah, it's you! I knew it. Sato-san recognizes her too. She the one who dropped the smoke bomb in... Oh, was that Lestrade? Who dropped the smoke bomb in the courtroom. I think that was Lestrade, but then... She was the little girl who McGilded said was in the carriage with them. In the omnibus with them. Towards the end of the last case. And she was in the courtroom and ran away, I think. Yes, Lestrade stole some shit from her. There's some tech from her. There you are, and I'm taking that with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial run of my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Oh, good day to you. I'm the inventor, I suppose, of that machine. It's the girl who turned up at the end of Mr. McGilded's trial in the defendant's antechamber. I've never met a lawyer from the Far East before. Who are you, having to get straight to work when you've only just arrived in London? Oh, yes, it was, challenging. Well, try this tea. It's my special blend, you know. Oh, thank you. Is tea supposed to look this colour? Oh my, what a fragrant yet mellow aroma. Flavour. Hooray, it's a winner! I tried blending different leaves designed to alleviate fatigue, you see. You must be exhausted from your long voyage here, and you have another ticklish trial tomorrow. Oh, and you're to defend the Japanese man. I do wish you lots and lots of luck. Did Mr. Sholmes tell you about us by any chance? You know Hurley, do you? Hurley? Mr. Sholmes to you, surely. Mr. Sholmes was a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see. Was he really? I had no idea. I'm afraid Hurley's out on an errand again today, even though he's just returned from overseas. Wait a minute. We met this girl for the first time ever yesterday after the trial, and only briefly at that. How on earth did she know so much about us? Did she deduce all those things, do you think? And perhaps more to the point, why is she here in Mr. Sholmes' suite? Oh, silly me. I haven't introduced myself, have I? It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Iris Wilson. I live here with Hurley. Ah, Iris, is it? What a lovely name. What? What's the matter? No, wait. This can't be. Did you just say your name is Wilson? What's the matter with Sato-san? Why is she so flustered all of a sudden? Yes, that's right. And what are your names? Oh, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a lawyer from Japan. Oh, sorry. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Sasato Mikutaba. It's wonderful to meet you. Lovely. Susie and Runo. Got it. Susie? And Runo? There's more to this girl than meets the eye. I have so many questions for her. I don't know where to start. Yes, and so do I. Right, we need to examine the... Oh, we need to examine a bunch of stuff, don't we? Can I... It was the blackboard I need to examine twice during this case. And it was... I want to say the violin? And we can just examine everything in the room before we talk to her. We'll go from right to left. What on earth is that big black lump over there? Ah, that's a fascinating thing. It's called a typewriter. It's a machine that allows you to type on paper without needing a pen. And wizardly quick, too. Oh, that sounds like it could be very useful for someone like me with terrible handwriting. That's a charming little white shelf, and full of charming little bottles, too. They're all poison. Oh, yes, but don't touch any of those. They might explode. Explode? Are they exotic chemicals? Do you use them for exciting experiments? Yes, indeed. And as Hurley always says, chemistry is an explosive science. Sorry? I agree. A single discovery can trigger an explosion of innovation all around the world. Or perhaps he just meant it literally. Either way, mental note, don't touch any of the bottles that belong to Iris. Blackboard. Ah, that's my blackboard where I note down ideas. Oh, interesting. Let's see. Black Peter. What does that mean? Don't you want to hear what Iris has to say, Mr. Naruhodo? I'll come back to that blackboard later. Tea set. What a beautiful English tea set, and so neatly arranged. It's a favourite pastime of mine, a cup of herbal tea in the afternoon. Tea? Made of herbs? That's right. I grow all sorts of herbs in the garden, so I can experiment with different blends. One moment, don't go away, I'll brew up a part of the special blend I came up with earlier today. She looks delighted. I only hope it's safe to drink. A mysterious shoe, a curious hammer, some mysterious dancing men, a bust of Napoleon. Ah, what an entrancing collection. This is the first time in my life that I've seen a lonely old shoe being displayed as an ornament. Oh, those are all mementos Hurley's collected from his past cases. Really? Even the bust? Yes, that's right. When the mood takes him, he likes to throw it on the floor and smash it to dust. The poor defenseless emperor? Mr. Sholmes destroys it? Yes, and then he buys a new one. You make it sound like he has the temperament of an insane sculptor. Ah, how entrancingly bohemian of him. I do like this fireplace. It's one of the best things I've seen since we arrived in the country, in fact. Lingering beside the fire and watching the flames flickering and dancing in the grate. It's so relaxing. We can't relax, not when there are so many interesting things on the mantelpiece. Oh, it's just as it was described in the stories. It is? Yes, exactly. Inside that Parisian slipper, for example. And my chocolates for 11sies. I'm transfixed by that large jackknife. It's my shopping list for the market. Oh, it's not quite how I remembered it being described in the Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes. Poor Sasato-san. She looks crushed. Looks like that huge metal chest is being used as a table for tea and coffee. It seems very sturdy, with an equally sturdy lock. Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't go around opening things. I always have to keep an eye on you, don't I? You're very mischievous. How did you come to that conclusion? Oh, that chest. contains some of my most valuable things. And that smile tells me you're not going to give us any clue as to what they are. There's all sorts on these shelves. Chemistry apparatus, books, papers, and lots of things I've never seen before. It's all heaped up so high. I can't help feeling that the whole lot is going to topple at any moment. I keep telling Hurley not to cram in so much of those shelves. Good advice. He wanted to look something up in one of those books a while ago. But it was so tightly wedged in he couldn't get it out, so he went out and bought a new copy instead. Violin. Ah, I've seen pictures of Western musical instruments like this. It's called a violin, isn't it? Of course it is. Mr. Sholmes is renowned for his violin playing. Oh, really? Absolutely. It's often explained in stories. It's inspirational, Mr. Naruhodo. Inspirational. I immediately started playing the koto, which was the closest Japanese string instrument that I could find. What a shame you couldn't bring it with you to London. Oh, yes. Well, Papa was beaming when I asked him if he would buy me one. But after a while, he asked if I would only practice when he was out of the house. So now it's merely an ornament in my room. That must have been an awkward conversation. Oh, second-rate strings! There we go. I thought we were going to actually have to have a conversation with Iris before. There's nothing else in here, just the machine? Okay. What on earth is this huge over-the-top machine? That's the Great Analytoscope. It can analyze things, really. Anything at all. That's absolutely incredible. It's one of Hurley's inventions. It took him a whole year. He said it was to help him with his investigations. What sort of things has he analysed with it? Do you know? Well, actually, he hasn't used it for anything yet. Oh, why not? Apparently, on the evening he finally completed it, it suddenly occurred to him. I don't actually have anything I need to analyse. Oh dear. How about you, Bruno? Do you have anything you'd like to analyse? The only thing that springs to mind is this machine itself. Okay, I think that was everything. And the board was just the once, wasn't it? Yeah, okay. That's a repeat. So we'll be coming back here at some point during this case, I guess. Converse. Iris, Wilson, your deductions just now. Iris. So that was you we ran into yesterday, wasn't it? At the Old Bailey. That's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh, not at all. I'm sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming. Though at the time, we did have a rather large gun pointed at us. That's an even bigger one. Like this? I'm thinking back now. You left it with Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you? Oh yes, that awkward witness, Gina Lestrade. Oh, Ginny? Yes. She's a professional pickpocket. So we found out. It was very naughty of her to pinch my inventions like that. Are you referring to that trial-disrupting gun-like contraption? Exactly. So I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self-destruct mechanism in my inventions. This girl is dangerous. Anyway, I brought Ginny back here after that. so she could apologize to my trusty technician. Sorry, your technician? Hurley, of course, silly. Hurley? Yes, Herlock Sholmes. We live here together. I had no idea the great detective had such an interesting young daughter. Daughter? Not likely. What? I wouldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I? Well then, what is your relationship with Mr. Sholmes? Well, I expect you found out that, well, I'm sure you found out that lodgings of any kind in London are very expensive. So the solution is to share the cost of living with a partner, a roommate. Your roommate? I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 at last this year. Well, what of your mother and father? Oh, no. They're not around. Oh, I see. I wonder what the story is there. Okay, I just want to double check something before we start another conversation. Let's see. I just want to see how big this case actually is. Like how many like chapters and all that jazz. Let's see. Just to kind of get a sense of like how far into this we are. I'm thinking of like sorry, 1 second. Try to think of where to like put a break in. Okay, so we're still on part 1 of the investigation. There's investigation part 2, trial part 1, trial part 2, and that's it. Okay. Sorry, just trying to get a sense of like how deep into this we are. Wilson! Oh yes, there's something I must ask you. Of course. Go ahead, Susie. I'm a very great fan of the adventures of Herlock Sholmes and... Oh, you have a copy of Ranced magazine? Yes, I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, that's so exciting! My stories are being read on the other side of the world. My stories? That's right. Hurley is always solving such amazing cases, you see, and he tells me all about them. They really are quite fascinating. It would be such a shame if I was the only one who ever heard them, don't you think? Goodness. Last night he was telling me all about the case he just solved on a steamship travelling from a faraway land. So I was just in the midst of typing up the manuscript for the next issue before you came. So you are the author? Yes. I'll let you in on a secret if you like. I'm going to call the latest adventure The Speckled Band. The Speckled Band? That's certainly very familiar. Of course, I always change 1 or 2 details in stories, here and there. This time, I had the idea of making the venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble. Oh, that was Mr. Sholmes' first thought as well, actually. Yes, and of course I know that snake might not be a credible fit for all the facts of the case exactly, but... It's a story. Some poetic license is justified to make it more thrilling, I think, don't you? So, do you mean to say Are the stories about Mr. Sholmes that are published in the Rancid magazines all written by me? Yes, on my wonderful and very modern typewriter. But all of the stories I've ever read are written by a doctor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson. Sasada-san's getting more and more worked up. Ah, yes, that's me. I mean, my real name is Wilson. But what about the Doctor of Medicine part? That's all true too. I'm a Doctor of Medicine. No, at 10 years old? At 10 years old? Well, that's quite incredible. But... Dr. Wilson is an English gentleman. Ah, yes. I did alter the setting slightly for the stories to be more compelling. Oh. Well, it sounds a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow. I suppose it does, yes. Poor Susato-san. She looks like her whole world has just fallen apart. Your deductions just now. About before. Yes? What's on your mind, Runo? Do tell me. How did you know that I was a lawyer and that we just arrived in London, I mean? Yes, oh, and that we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How did you know all of that? Oh, that's what you mean? Please, tell us how you did it. Explain every detail. Of course, I'd be delighted, although there's really no mystery. Now, let's begin. Iris Wilson is proud to present her logic and reasoning spectacular. First of all, I knew already that you were a lawyer, Runo. After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the defendant's antechamber. But you also said that we'd only just arrived in London. How do you know about that? I observed the passport and travelling ticket protruding from your breast pocket. Oh. So I was reasonably confident you must have only just arrived in the country. And on top of that, you accepted a case against that particular prosecutor, telling me you were unaware of London's court affairs. What's that stamp on the back of her hand? The Reaper of the Bailey? I walked right into that one, didn't I? And I noticed a red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. You were given that when you visited the local prison to meet with a suspect, weren't you? Earlier today. Okay. They use those stamps to keep a close eye on the comings and goings, you see. I didn't realize. The red stamp is only used for people visiting foreign inmates. So that told me, even though you had only yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus McGilded, the two of you had already caused to visit a foreign inmate at a local prison. However, neither of you were wearing particularly sad expressions on your face. So I concluded that the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or a relative. That led me to believe that you must have accepted a new case. I see. Wow, she's actually good at making deductions, unlike Sholmes, who kind of bumblefucks his way into a conclusion. But how could you have known about the trial? How could you have known that the trial is tomorrow? Well, having barely been home a few hours yesterday, Hurley solved yet another case. It obviously amused him. He told me that he caught a Japanese man who was bawling and trembling. Japanese man? Well, clearly that must have been Mr. Natsume. Now Runo has that fancy Japanese sword. And I think your outfit is called a kimono, isn't it, Susie? Well, anyway, it's clear to me that you both come from Japan yourself. So putting two and two together, I decided you must be defending a Japanese man Hurley caught. And there was only one conclusion to those facts I could lead me to. You both came here to ask Hurley about the case. There's a note on the mantelpiece that says the man's trial will be tomorrow. Hurley is always stabbing his nose with a knife, you know. He is silly. And that's all there is to it, really. Thank you for listening. I'm Iris Wilson, and that was one of my great deductions. Little round of applause for an actual good deduction from someone. She's significantly better at this than Sholmes. Well, was it a winner? Were my deductions correct? They were spot on. That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction. You even managed the certain something of you even managed the certain something of Mr. Sholmes' delivery. Oh, well, I was just copying Hurley's style for that. This is really very good news. You could tell us all about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, you will, won't you, Iris? Please? Case of the Japanese man. So yesterday, Mr. Sholmes apprehended a Japanese man, you were saying? Yes. Hurley had just arrived back in London after his sea voyage, but the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene. Ah, the great detective is a popular man, it seems. Apparently, a woman was stabbed on a quiet street somewhere in town. There were witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking, stooped man running away from the scene. A short, shifty-looking, stooped man. Mr. Natsume, beyond any doubt. Soseki-san said that he didn't see anybody else at the street at all. But it seems there were witnesses after all. Hurley used his great deductive powers to determine the man's address. It was a lodging room nearby. He went directly there with the police. What did they find? A short, shifty-looking, stooped man shivering in fear. Mr. Sholmes' great deduction certainly hit the mark that time. Of course it did. He's a great detective. Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it? Definitely. We have no time to investigate properly. Hurley says that London is rife with crime. Oh. Scotland Yard is doing its best, but they can't stay on top of it, apparently. Oh dear, I hadn't realized the situation was so dire. That's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating cases or trying criminals in court. Staff and money are both short. Crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person. Wow, fuck. Jesus. You look a bit shifty. You must have done it. That's terrible. I suppose it's the harsh reality of working for the world's greatest justice system. I suppose it is, but in that case, I don't hold out much hope for Soseki-san. Thank you for answering so many of our questions, Iris. This has been very informative. Oh, you're most welcome. I've had so much fun. Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As you guessed, we'd like to ask him a few questions about this case as well. Ah, well, I expect Hurley is still investigating the scene. Of the case involving Mr. Natsume, you mean? Yes, Mr. Natsume. Hurley said he was going to the man's lodgings. If you leave now, you can probably catch him there. Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? Well, I imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Did you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson when you were there? Yes, we know Inspector Gregson. Oh, goody. In that case, give Gregsy this from me, would you? If you do that, I'm sure he'll tell you what you want to know. What is this? A 5-shilling piece and a postcard, it seems. Are we literally just going to bribe the detective? It reads, "Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem." It is just a bribe. Shit. Imagine being a police officer and getting bribed by a 10-year-old girl. Jesus. Gosh, this will make the inspector help us, will it? Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try. Good luck then. I'm going to return to writing my manuscript, The Speckled Band. I'll be making more special blends of tea, so come back again soon. We'll be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, let's get back to the scene of the crime. So, somewhat dubious that they would exert any influence over the men of Scotland Yard at all. We headed back to the scene with Iris's curious note and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand. To be continued. There we go. Right, we will wrap up here because doing all of these voices is devastating on my throat. This seems like a good spot to wrap up. So this case seems to be broken up into 4 parts. Investigation 1, 2, and then court case 1 and 2. So we'll do each part as a stream. So it'll be 4 streams for this case. But yeah, it feels good to get back into this. Feels like it's been a little while since we've done one of these streams. I have to look up when I actually did one. It must have been a couple of months ago at least. But yeah. I want to quit out. You know what, we'll just do this. But yeah. That is going to be it for today. As I said, it's going to be a smaller stream. Usually is for these ones because doing so many voices really takes it out of you. It's weird how exhausting it is. Just be talking for like 2 hours straight. Just doing all the voices. But yeah, that is going to be it for today. I might stream again tomorrow. If not, it'll be next weekend maybe. But yeah, that is going to be it for today. Thank you very much for watching. And I'll hopefully see you guys next time. Cheers. Bye now.